This is a presentation on quality management. Definition of quality. Quality is defined as the totality of characteristics of an entity that bear on its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. Another definition says conformance to requirements or fitness for use. On both of these definitions, the idea that quality is that an activity, whether it's a good or a service, that its characteristics are able to meet the requirements for which it was designed. Here is a nice quote from Peter Drucker, who is one of the gurus in management. It says, "Quality in a product or service is not what the supplier puts in. It's what the customer gets out and is willing to pay for." And this has a relationship for us in project management, is that quality is not necessarily what the project manager or the project team thinks that quality is. It's more about what the beneficiaries or the key stakeholders perceive as quality, because they're going to be ones using it. Then quality management is the process to ensure that all project activities necessary to design, plan, and implement a project are effective and efficient with respect to the purpose of the project objectives and its performance, so that every activity will build quality before, during, and after. It is not an action that happens at a specific time before the project or after the project. It's something that happens, quality management happens throughout the life of the project. Let's look at our process where we have our inputs. Key information that we need include quality standards and requirements, from which then we use to develop our plan to do and define quality. Then we do our quality assurance, we check and we have quality control, and adapt where we do quality improvement. Key outputs of that, we have information about our quality standards, our quality control plan, and our quality variance reports. Let's look at those steps in more detail. Plan means quality definitions and metrics or indicators. That is the moment where the project and every activity has a right definition of what are the quality standards that they will use and the quality metrics that they will apply to measure. During implementation, a lot of the work is done with quality assurance, which is building quality in all the processes. It's making sure that everybody understands what are the quality standards and what are the metrics that are being used to follow that work. The next step during check, that's when we have quality control and the quality audits, and they usually happen after an activity has been completed, and the step is to measure whether or not that activity is meeting the quality standards. And the last step and adapt is improvements and changes to plans. If there are any deviations from the original plans, that is opportunity to make the corrections. Quality standards, they are many depending on the type of activity or the type of work that the project will do. There are many standards on health, education, environment, and depending on the nature of the project, there will always be a set of quality standards, and that will be important that the project manager and the team are aware of those, because they can use them as part of the description of the work that will go into the project. Then there is quality characteristics. These are kind of elements that help you then measure and monitor the different activities or tasks of the project. There is the performance, reliability, relevance. Timeliness is an important one. No matter if something is very good, if it doesn't come on the time when it's needed, it's not going to be useful. Suitability to the environment, completeness, and consistency in its use. Here in the picture we see an example of a village and a project where they deliver a water pump, and a lot of those characteristics can be part of the description of that work in terms of the performance, its reliability in the use, that it will be used over and over again in different conditions in the different environment, and it will be able to meet the requirements in a consistent manner, because that is what the beneficiaries are expecting and they are needing from the water pump. Quality assurance, it's something that must be planned from the early stages of the project with the measures taken at every stage. So quality assurance is making sure that every activity or every process has a good definition of what it means that needs to be done and what it will look like and what are the characteristics at the end of it. So it's part of our project when we're doing the plan, doing checked and acting. It's the whole process in which we are consistently making sure and giving guarantees that the project is using the instructions, that people have the skills to do the work, and they're following the right processes to deliver quality. Quality control is done at the end of a process or activity to verify that quality standards have been met. That means that after we complete an activity or we deliver a good or a service, we measure, we control it by making sure that it's following its standards. And if we find something that is wrong, then we either close that activity, we do it again, or we change whatever product or service needs to be changed. There are a couple of quality control tools that we can use in project management. One of those is called the fishbone diagram because it looks like a fishbone. The idea is that for any major defect or quality error, the project starts trying to find the major causes for that problem. And in each one of those causes, it tries to identify what are the sub-causes for that problem until it identifies one that may have the biggest impact on the defect or the quality error. That helps identify many areas for problems where the project team can identify and make the corrections. Another tool is called the Pareto chart, and is part of a principle which is the Pareto rule that is practically the rule of the 80-20. Some of you may be familiar with it. That says in our case that 80% of our problems come from only 20% of the activities that are wrong. So we might find a lot of problems in the project, but if we only focus on those 20% that contain 80% of the problems, by solving that, we have a better chance than trying to solve every single problem in the project, which can be very expensive if we have limited funds and resources. So that's one tool that is useful for quality control. Another one is the idea of using charts that have an upper limit and a lower limit. During the life of the project, you can find data points that tell you how far an activity or a result is within the margins of its limits. And when it hits one of those limits, then that's a warning sign that the project manager uses to look at the activity or the process that is using to create that activity and make the corrective actions, and then uses the same chart to monitor that activity now is starting to produce results within those limits. The idea again is that these tools are used depending on the nature of the work and the nature of the different activities. Here's our example where we look at the construction of bricks for the houses that you might need to produce millions of bricks, but every 100 or 1,000 bricks you test one of those for durability, for strength, to make sure that it has the correct mix of materials, because those bricks are going to be used in the walls and they're going to be part of the structural foundation and the stability of the house. And if something is wrong with a group of them, then you might have problems with that house when it's having a lot of stress or weight or having a lot of problems, because they might increase the risk to the people and the families living on those houses. So if there are any problems with the bricks, then the project manager can stop production of them, check for the problems, correct them, and then go back and people can continue the work on the houses with the right bricks. this is the end of our presentation on quality management.